we turn to our phone line right now, and our friend from NFL Network, the NFL Media Group, who will be part of the ESPN NFL Network coverage of the draft this year, my buddy Daniel Jeremiah, at Move the Sticks on Twitter. For those who don't follow him, you need to. How are you, DJ?
I'm doing great, Rich. I've just got to get used to the fact that, every time I go in my office now, I assume that I'm on camera. So it's just like, it's throwing me for a loop, man. Like, I just want to get something off the printer here, but I feel like I got to be careful.
It's like the Truman Show. I mean, you're always on television.
It really is.
You're always on TV, and that eye in the sky does not lie, DJ. So as you know, if they check the tape, we could see some red flags, and you just got to be careful. You know what I'm saying? You just got to be very, very careful.
No doubt.
Joe Burrow's won, correct? That's not any doubt, right? That's a fact. We can just rip the knob off.
I feel like that. I feel like that is a certainty there that he's going to be the first pick, and the Bengals will they'll get their guy. So then the draft begins, I think, at 3, if we assume that Chase Young goes at 2, and then the fun begins.
Right. And then 3rd overall are the Lions. Now, I know mock drafts do not include trades. How likely, what are you hearing right now about maybe an itchy trigger finger by the Dolphins or the Chargers knocking on the Lions' door and saying we need to hop up to 3 to make sure we get the quarterback we want? What are you hearing on that front right now?
Nothing. I have not heard anything. I know the Lions, Bob Quinn has said that he's received phone calls, which every team's going to make those calls this time. But in terms of the likelihood or that we're going to see this happen, I don't know. I think Tua with the Dolphins situation makes it interesting because we've heard so much about Herbert, being the guy there with the Dolphins, and whether people think that's a smokescreen or not, I tend to think it's actually pretty legitimate. So if you're the Chargers, and say you're a Tua team, right? You really want Tua to just energize this city and this fan base, and you've got a really talented team, and he can be the face to replace Phillip Rivers. Do you trust your gut and say, man, I think they're going to go Herbert, so let's not trade any assets. Let's sit here and wait, and we're going to get Tua without having to give up any picks? Or like you said, I think you used the term right, it's they get an itchy trigger finger and maybe they want to go up. That's the storyline to follow in the draft. That's the number one story, in my opinion. So when the Lions are on the clock, that 10-minute period, that's when we start sitting up a little bit more upright in our chairs, keeping an ear to the ground. And then if the Lions don't move, it is a CUDA. That's the choice of Honolulu Blue. They go to the Ohio State and get that corner. That, to me, is the one that makes the most sense. I just think he's a great fit there. That's the, Patricia way, if you go off the Belichick playbook, which is where he came from, and they build their defense back to front instead of front to back. So you lose Darius Slay, you slide him in there. I know some people have said, well, why would you do that? It's just kind of an even swap if you could have kept Slay and gone in a different direction. But this is a younger, cheaper version. So that still, to me, looks like the pick.
And then 4th overall, Dave Gettleman, sitting in his attic in front of his one single laptop. I don't know if you saw that photograph.
Is that wainscoting, by the way? What do we call that again on the wall? Very nice.
It is. I think so. Again, I'm not. That's more Susie, my wife's area of expertise.
Okay.
I have heard her use the word sconce a lot in our marriage.
HGTV. Daniel's been watching it. Sconce.
It is by the way, if the Giants draft a kid named Wayne Scotting, then we'll know. That'd be odd. But Gettleman's
very true. By the way, quick, Rick. I know we want to talk about this, Rich, but I have to just sidebar real quick.
Yes.
Rob Brockman just mentioned HGTV. How bad do you feel? I feel so bad for all those people that went with the tiny houses. I don't know if that's such a good call right now.
Probably not.
I'll say the same thing to you, Daniel, that I've told Mayock for many, many a moon. Not everything's an evaluation. Not everything needs to be evaluated. But that is you're in that mode right now. You only know one speed right now. Everything's an evaluation. See, you even noticed the wainscoting. I mean, we have looked at that
really
Gettleman photograph nonstop, and I didn't even notice it.
Nobody's mentioned it. Yeah,
I didn't even notice it. Look, it goes around the corner. All right. So his decision at 4 is huge, right? With Simmons or the offensive lineman of his choice, or even trading out potentially. What do you think Gettleman does when it's all said and done, 4th overall?
Well, I just think he's a meat and potatoes guy, and it's a meat and potatoes decision. So you get the offensive lineman to help Daniel Jones and help Saquon Barkley. Their defense is terrible, Rich. They have to use resources to get that fixed, but I don't think that's number one on the priority. I think next year, if the Giants are 8-8 and Daniel Jones is taking a step forward and you've kept him healthy, you feel like you're on your way, to being a good football team, and you can fix some of those defensive issues. If they go 8-8 and the defense plays great and keeps them in every game, and Daniel Jones regresses, I don't think you feel good about where that franchise is. So I'm going to fix that offensive line.
So why do you think he goes worse of all his choices at that spot?
Well, we still have another mock to go here, Rich. We've got a finale here, so
I think I'm doing that with you. I think they're putting a camera in my house today, so I can do that with you on Wednesday night on NFL Network.
Oh,
Daniel,
that's breaking news. That's breaking news right there. Sweet. Yeah, no, we'll have a little surprise there. I think it'll be an offensive tackle. I'm beginning to think it's not going to be Wirfs, but I do think they'll go offensive tackle there.
Oh, then why are you mock drafting Wirfs? Is you giving a head fake just to keep it fresh next week?
This is old mock draft. This is old mock draft. We got a new one coming your way.
Pardon me.
That's like a week is like a year in mock draft.
What point oh? I don't even know what point oh we're on right now. So.
I know. Do I need to do the .0s, by the way?
Well, yeah, I don't know who started that.
It's like 1.1.
It's
right?
the same.
1.2.
It's the same. I don't know who came up with the .0 for mock drafts. I don't know what the lineage of this thing is, but whoever it is, it's the same person that mandates every single television partner of the National Football League to right around Week 11, Week 12, name all the teams outside of the playoff picture in the hunt. I don't know who that. It's always got to be in the hunt, as you know. Here on
coming from the same shop.
Well, I guess we should bring this up right here because we have a new audience on NBCSN. Here on the Rich Eisen Show, we call it sniffing it. It might not be nearly as appropriate for a television audience for partners, but at any rate, your whatever .0, you've got Herbert in front of Tua right now. Why do you have that?
Yeah.
Is that your evaluation, or what you think the Dolphins' evaluation is right now, Daniel?
Yeah, my evaluation is you take Tua, and I know I'm not a doctor, but look, that to me would be my decision. But when I hear that there's a split in the room, and I've heard that from multiple people, that if there's not a unanimous opinion on those guys, I would think it would lend towards the healthier player getting the nod. So that's kind of a combination of what I've heard and then just common sense of this one guy's healthy and one guy is coming off of a tough injury. So that's why I had them going with Herbert. But I've also heard, as of the last few days, talking around to the folks around the league, Rich, who believe they might not even take a quarterback.
Come on.
Shocked me.
Come on.
That's what I said. I said that doesn't make any sense. You traded a bunch of great players so you could go out and replace them with other, great players. No, you did all this so you could get the quarterback.
Right.
Like that. To come out of this whole rebuild without the quarterback just wouldn't make any sense to me.
Unless the quarterback that they have coveted all this time suffered a hip injury that's got him scared. I mean, that would be the only reason why one would think that you're hearing this stuff. Unless, and you've been in draft rooms in your lifetime, in your career, how do you sense what's BS and what isn't right now? I mean, that there's a split in the room. That might be being told to enough people that it gets into your ear gate, to use the Michael Irvin phrase. Yeah. So everybody thinks that they're not taking Tua 5th overall, and they don't have to trade up to go get the guy that they still do covet. Daniel.
It's very real. It's very real. And in that vein, Rich, this year, I tweeted about this last night, this is going to be the wildest draft in terms of what your expectations will be and what actually happens. Because I'll let people in on a little bit of a secret here. When you go to these pro days, all the coaches and all the scouts are there. And while the guy at the top of the decision-making chain is usually aware of keeping things a little bit close to the vest, there are conversations inside that building, and there are people that know. And a lot of times those are coaches or scouts. And when they get around their buddies, that's how the information gets out. That's how you find out that team X likes player Y. It's not coming straight from that building. It's because a friend of a coach there talked to him at a pro day, and he didn't keep it to himself. So all this information comes out of these pro day conversations that take place, and we didn't have that this year.
Oh.
So I'm still having conversations with these general managers, but these staffs haven't been interacting with one another. So I'll have a phone. I'm having these calls every night, Rich, where we'll talk about a player, and he'll go, "I'm really targeting this guy. I think this kid could be a great fit for us in the 3rd round." And then talk to another team 10 minutes later and say, "What do you think of this guy?" Like, "Oh, he's a free agent for us. Like, he stinks." There's like these wide swings on these players. There's no groupthink this year. Every man for himself, which makes it a lot of fun.
That is remarkable. I have not heard that yet, and that is a fascinating development to hear. So you think, again, and I understand there's another mock draft to come, Herbert over Tua, and that would be champagne popping for the Chargers, right? I mean, you call Chargers games here in Los Angeles on the radio, along with our buddy Matt Money Smith. That would be Telesco. Like, if he could write it up right now, that's the way he would write it up, would you say?
Well, to me, assuming that he's healthy, I think he's just such a perfect fit on the field, in the locker room, in the city. Like, everything points to a very good fit there with Tua. But I'm not privy to the medical information that they have, so that would determine that decision. But man, looking at it on paper, Rich, it looks to me like it would be a home run pick.
How are these teams truly flying blind on Tua and his hip, Daniel? Though, I mean, like, he got the check at the combine, and then there was that medical recheck that checked out, apparently, according to all reports. You're watching him run around spry like a deer with all the video that from his own personal pro day that got sent to a lot of people in our industry. I mean, how are people truly flying blind on Tua's health right now, DJ?
Well, I think there's two questions with Tua's health, and I've heard different opinions on this from different medical people, and some teams are more comfortable with it than others. And these are teams that are not in the quarterback markets. There's no reason for them to lie to me. I know they're not taking one. I'm just looking for their opinion.
I like it.
But the situation is this: there's getting to a 100% healthy. Which, if you watch that video, I thought it was incredible for where he is in the process. He looked like he was, 85, 90%. He looked great. But there's a difference between getting to 100% and staying at 100%. And that's where the issue lies for some teams. It's not, is he going to be healthy when he walks into our building for the first time? It's what's the likelihood of recurrence with this injury, and what kind of stability are we going to have going forward in the long term? That's the question.
So you're in a draft room, though. You take Tua, right? You do it.
I would, yeah. He's my look. I still have Burrow as my top quarterback,
right? But
he's in Cincinnati. He's gone. I would take Tua.
Okay, and Simmons drops to 10 in your mock draft. I mean, now obviously the Browns would be ecstatic to get somebody as talented as Isaiah Simmons, but don't they got to get somebody up front, right? I mean, so what do you think of the Brown scenario involving Simmons and I guess everything that we've just discussed all the way down to 10 there, DJ?
Yeah, I think, look, the Simmons thing would be interesting because if you look, I had Jacksonville taking Becton, and there's a couple different thoughts on that. I would say it's probably down the line chance that the Jags would actually take Becton at that point in time, but that's a trade spot. When you look at Cleveland at 10 as a tackle team, the Jets at 11 are a tackle team. So if you wanted to tackle, if you're a team like Tampa who want to go up there and get a tackle, that's the spot you want to get to is Jacksonville. And I've been told by multiple teams that Jacksonville is more than willing to get out and actually could be looking to get out. So that could be a trade spot there. And if that happens, now you have that run on tackles, and then Simmons being there, I think, would just be too good of a player there for Cleveland to pass up. When you're in that division with Lamar Jackson and you have a player like Isaiah Simmons, I saw it with Derwin James against the Baltimore Ravens, in the playoffs a couple years ago. That is kind of an eraser for a unique player like Lamar. He really gives you a lot of advantages there on the defensive side of the ball with all he can do. So that's a pick for the division there if they were to somehow get Isaiah Simmons. Now, I think Simmons is the third best player in the draft, but he's an off-the-ball linebacker who can do a lot of different things, but those guys you've seen in years past where highly rated off-the-ball linebackers can drop a little bit. So that would not totally shock me if Isaiah Simmons did not go quite as high as he should based on his ability.
And then last one for you, Daniel. We had our buddy Charles Davis on in our first hour, our youtube.com/Rich Eisen show streamed hour, and he said that the signing of Mariota in Las Vegas makes him think that Mayock, our buddy, and Gruden are not going to go quarterback in the first round. Where do you think Jordan Love winds up?
Well, first of all, before I get to that, has Charles got the blazer yet? Because I told him as soon as that CBS blazer shows up, he needs to snap a picture and send it to me.
I think it's at the tailor right now. I think it's still being sewn together with T's being crossed and I's being dotted. And by tailor, I mean his entertainment lawyer. That's what I mean. If that makes sense. If that makes sense.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. All right, look, Jordan Love, he's tough to nail down. He's the one I'm just having a hard time. I don't think the Raiders will take him. Maybe I'll be surprised, but I don't think they will. And then, to me, it could work out really well for Jordan Love, because if I was him, there'd be 3 teams that I would want to go to. Everybody grows up, you want to be the number 1 pick. Forget that. This is a long game here. You want to go to a place where they can develop you and you have a chance to be successful. And Jordan Love, those 3 teams would be New Orleans at the bottom of the first round. It would also be Indianapolis potentially coming back up to pick him in the bottom of the first round. That would be an option for him as well. And I don't think New England would do it, but he would have an opportunity to sit there as well. I don't think that they will take him, but the 2 that make the most sense are the Saints and the Colts.
And you have, however, in your current mock, a team that watched
the Packers.
You have a team that watched a talented quarterback drop, and they've been riding him, and he'll be riding all the way to the Hall of Fame since then. You have the Packers taking Jordan Love, 30th overall right now.
That would be the third team. That would be the third team. So you've got, again, great situations with offensive-minded coaches, and then you've got a chance to sit and learn and develop, which he needs. So, the Packers tried that with Deshaun Kaiser. It didn't work out. Maybe they go back to that well again here with the new group running the show, and Jordan Love's got a tremendous amount of talent, so it'd be fun.
DJ, fun chatting with you. Look forward to chatting with you more next week. Thanks, Daniel.
All right, buddy. Be safe.
You got it. You too. Daniel Jeremiah at Move the Sticks. Must follow. Love that guy. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.